Hey everybody, it's Marty, the JavaScript party, and my buddy Rhett. We're here doing some coding. Yesterday we spent most of the time kind of opining about dispose and all that, and I was just watching the video from yesterday today again. I realized, man, we have just really scratched the surface of the problems that are going to present themselves as this scales up because if you imagine, let's say I have three of these and I decide I want to edit one of these, right? Let's say I have three visualizations and I want to edit one of the visualizations and I just want to change the width. And when you change the width, what we've learned is that when you change the width of a geometry, so let's go into our geometry service. We know this is ThreeJS because we don't have anything, but when you change the dimensions of it, you end up creating a brand new object. And so we'll have a brand new object. Well, so let's say three visualizations are sharing the same geometry, and I click into this visualization to change geometry. Probably what I'm saying as a user is I want to just change this one. I don't want to change them all. But let's say I have a list of geometries, and I see that I have a geometry that has three, and let's say you can click on a geometry and it highlights, puts like a yellow line around, a border around the three that are doing that. Well, then I think you expect all three of them to change. So now when I dispose of one or when I create a new one, I'm going to want its underlying, I want to actually do a whole new create with a whole new underlying geometry instead of changing the underlying geometry for the ID. And that is probably going to be tricky. And that's just probably something I'm just not going to be able to build out now. I mean, I could build it out now and get it working, but it's probably not going to be a good fit when I actually need it. It would be better to build that at the time. So that is just sort of one of those like bridges that we'll cross when we get there. But yeah. But anyways, so what we're trying to do now is get to unit tests. And man, I'll tell you, I just can't figure it out. I can't figure out if these unit tests are worth it. I think so. I think literally just the fact that thinking about unit tests put me down this whole dispose rabbit hole, and this dispose rabbit hole was probably could have very well been a poison pill that would have killed this whole project a year from now. We'd be starting all over again. May have made it unit tests worthwhile, but we might be a year down the line and be rebuilding everything anyways because we found some other weird thing that we need to work around. I love you too, Rhett. So anyways, well, it is 8:07, so I'm not going to, good news for you, I'm not going to be able to go long on this. I have to start working 53 minutes. And it is like 40 degrees Fahrenheit out there, which 32 is 0. And there's 2.5, so it's probably like 4 degrees Celsius or something like that. I know the vast majority of you all live in other countries, so you run around, you operate in Celsius instead of Fahrenheit. But it's pretty cold here. And it's supposed to get even colder, more cold, colder tomorrow. Our language is so weird. It seems like it should be even more cold, not colder. But it should be, so anyways, regardless of all that, it's definitely going to be, I think it's supposed to be like a high of 30 degrees, which is minus a little, almost -1 degrees in Celsius tomorrow. And it's going to kind of, so it's going to be over 24 hours where it's under 32 degrees, where it's below freezing, where water freezes, which to us is kind of nice because it's always good to have like one of those sort of later in February for us, because probably our biggest issue that we deal with in Georgia, at least in the flatter parts of Georgia, is mosquitoes and flying, biting, blood sucking insects. And that will kind of delay when those insects are born, right? Like any of the ones that early hatchlings that come out they're going to get wiped out, and then it's going to be later, and then they won't have as many cycles to reproduce, and since there won't be as many cycles to reproduce, like we kind of could get to the point sometimes where like when you're walking, like there's so many bugs around that like if you go on a run and you're sweating, your whole body will just be covered in dead gnats and stuff because like there's just bugs everywhere. And since we're having this sort of later deep freeze, we probably won't get that this year, which is going to be nice. That would happen like more in like July, August, September time period. So this is a very good thing for us, I think, but it's just my personal opinion. So let's see if we can run. I believe our tests are going to fail because I think we have one test that is using the old TypeScript shape for one of the objects. I believe it was meshes, but I can't remember. npm run test. If I remember correctly, this one takes a little while for it to get rolling. So this is the first step, is just to get all the tests working again. You know, this change work. Make sure that when they do break, we understand why they broke. We understand that it makes sense that they broke. There's sort of another chance to sort of, and it's like probably one of the best times for just sitting down that unit tests are probably when you're doing unit testing, it's probably one of the best times and unit tests themselves are probably one of the best times to document, unusual things within the code base. But here we go. We have our animation service spec is broken. Our mesh twice, 3 times, thrice, 4 times. Yeah. So it looks like everything broke in our animation service spec. So we kind of scrolled up to the top of these. I find this to be a bit confusing. And then one of the sad things is that when we go over this, I think since we've scrolled up, it won't show us in the bottom the auto updating. So it is still, just so you could see, I just realized you can't see. It's still kind of, yeah, this is a really bad name. Incomplete, no specs found is definitely what you would call here, let's just do this. What you would call it's like a red herring. It's a distraction that will tell you, like you're going to be like, I'll be like, why don't I have any specs found? That doesn't make any sense. And that wasn't the error. So that is a bit of a distraction. The problem, but in the console, it actually gives you the actual reason. And that is this animation spec test on line 24 saying that, hey, ST geometry does not exist. Did you mean to write ST geometry ID? So let's go ahead and check that out. So basically, since we called this, and this is our spec, so we really do want this to be right, but the problem is that we're creating a mesh, but we don't even have an ID yet. I believe there's a get in the ST side. There's a get. So I think we need the geometry service, not the geometry service. We need the mesh service. So let's go ahead and import the mesh service. Let's do this. I don't know what to do. I guess we want to create a mesh service. And we want it to be an ST mesh service. which is of type S. Mesh service. I don't really know what I'm doing right now. I'm just going to be completely transparent about that. See, I think, so the describe. I've always wondered why this sort of thing happens usually in here. You know, like, so, because I don't think we can do this. We can't do this. Yeah, so we have to completely redo the way this whole thing works, which is kind of a bummer. And I'm just going to comment that out for now. And then we want to do this mesh service. And I'm a bit on the, like, I'm just kind of making shit up as I go right now. Mesh service equals, I guess, test dot inject. And I do not understand what this does. I kind of have, I could kind of gather that it's going to, well, I know it's going to create a mesh service for me. Let's see where it wants to import from. Yep, that looks good. And then so we really want a reference of this to exist up here. But we don't want to have to define it. And so I'm just going to do this. And I'm going to move this actual assignment into, I'm going to comment that out. And I'm going to control, right, and then I'm going to say, I'm going to get rid of this and see if it, wow. So yeah, I don't know if that'll always work. Right now, it will let me declare it as an ST mesh, and then not. I was kind of expecting to have to say or unknown. Or not, or undefined. I thought I was going to have to do that, but it doesn't look like I have to. And at some point I may have to, and I would actually like, when I do have to, for it to break and see, you know, and go ahead and have to fix that. Okay, so cannot assign master because it is an import. So it's not wanting to let me create. Maybe I can't. So it's saying I can't assign it, and it's because it's an import. That is weird. So it's kind of suggesting that. Yeah, that didn't do anything. Alright, so what do we do with animation up here? Okay. Okay. Let mesh service. And here, yeah, I'm literally no idea what the hell I'm doing right now. Okay, so let me do that. Now it's happy with this. I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me. Why up here we're defining it, and then down here we're assigning it. It doesn't bother me, but now let's go ahead and do this. I do like this, though. I think, you know, that's kind of, I didn't really feel comfortable with that right there. And now, thank you, Rhett. You're a good girl. I think Rhett is going to have a positive attitude the whole day, I bet you. Yesterday went pretty well. I had that meeting about, I asked for him, well, I actually just, in my stand-up, just sort of stated that I was very uncomfortable with the current state of the story that I was working on. And they called a meeting right afterwards, and we all had a meeting. And yeah, so I need that. So I do need this. So I don't know why. But it went really well, the meeting. I still am not 100%. The story is super complex. It's a super, super complex story. It's going to require a lot of integration between a lot of different disparate pieces. Wow. And a lot of like back forth kind of things. So it is tricky. All right, so now I want to assign my ST mesh. And I just think I remember there was like mesh service dot get base. Create mesh. What was the deal with that? I could have sworn go to definition. So create mesh will create a new mesh. Okay, so this is the ThreeJS. I don't want the ThreeJS one. I want the ST. So there is where some confusion came in. I don't want this mesh. I want ST mesh. Okay, and I don't even want to have this one anymore. I don't want you anymore. Go away. Go away, Rhett. Go away. Rhett loves to say that to the dogs. Go away. ST mesh service. And I don't know how close of attention anyone is watching this, but you can see how easy it is to get confused between the two when you have these sort of doppelganger, sort of mirrored type things between the two of them. And it's super important to kind of do anything you can to keep that straight. And it would have been kind of nice, again, if I had called, that's where it would have been super nice if I had called the other one 3 mesh service, because then I would have instantly known I was getting the wrong one. So the only reason I ever figured it out is because I remember I had to create base mesh. Okay, create base mesh wants something, I think. Const mesh ID. Here's like a thing that I'm doing, and I don't know, it's definitely not helping me. I don't think it's hurting me now, but it's definitely not helping me. But I think it's going to help me in the future. And we'll have to pay attention to that to see if it ends up being helpful. All right, so now we have our ST mesh. Okay, so now we need to be able to create a geometry. Where are we on time? 8:23. I think we're still good. So I think we want to bring in, I'm super stressing the think part of this. I think I want to bring in the box geometry. So I did get I don't know if you could tell, but I got a new sort of light thing, and it's kind of cool because you can like push this button and like you can change the sort of color that you're doing. And so what I'm trying to do, I kind of started experimenting with light a while back, and to try to sort of fix my I used to have a real hard time with sleep. My sleep's perfect nowadays, but I had a real hard time with sleep. And one of the many issues that I was having was my circadian rhythm was messed up, and I found this to be a very common thing amongst developers. And I think it's because we normally a very standard pattern is that we work in a very dim room, and then a lot of times 4 or 5 o'clock, maybe 6 o'clock in the afternoon is the brightest part of our day, and then that makes our body think that high noon is the is 6 o'clock. And so then when it's time to go to bed in 4 hours or so, it thinks it's only like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And what I found is manipulating the lights that hit my eyes and making them more red and orange early in the morning, and then around 10 a.m. turning them to blue, and then around noon turning it to pure white, and then turning it back to blue, and then turning it back to red. And that towards the end of the day seems to really help me sleep at night. So I don't know, maybe that might be helpful for you. But what it looks like, we need to create a geometry as well. And so here we were just manually trying to create a box geometry, but I would rather use the service. So let's go ahead and do that. And the funny thing about this is that that we're not even doing animations right now. But this is still, like, going through this is still, to me, seems like it's very helpful towards sort of locking in the understanding. I remember, like, back in the 80s or 90s, early 90s, early 2000s, what you would often get is like these tasks where you were building these massive websites that were going to be like 10,000 pages or something like that. And like every page, every HTML page was being handwritten. And so you would just sort of manually build out these things because, like they didn't want to have to try to think through things. They just wanted this thing done, and they didn't want to have to do a bunch of analysis and stuff. They're just like, hey, we know exactly what we want. We just want you guys to build it. And so then you didn't really think through things. You just copy and paste, build out the format, fill in the thing, move on, let QA take a close look and make sure that you did everything right. Okay, so we want our ST geometry service testbed. And again, I don't really truly understand what's going on here. And I don't think it's important that you understand everything that's going on. But I think it is important that that you know when you don't know what you're doing. Like, it's fine not to fully understand everything. Like, I don't want to become an absolute expert in this, especially considering that it's been deprecated. So I don't necessarily want to dig in and just totally understand what in the world the testbed inject service is. Let's see. That should be lowercase. I don't know why this has got a problem now. Did I misspell it? Oh, that's supposed to be lowercase. There we go. Yeah, like just knowing that, these things need to match up and all that, I think is good enough. Understanding what's really happening in this, I don't think is worthwhile for me, but understanding that I don't understand it is very worthwhile. So let's see if the pattern holds. ST geometry service, create base geometry, and then geometry. Oh, and then I think we had to actually then do an update, but I don't, for now I'm not going to. I'm just going to get one. So my ST geometry, and I don't have an ST geometry. So let ST geometry colon ST. I just like recently discovered that Angular has a whole bunch of like they do live videos, and they have like the lead of the Angular team answer questions and stuff like that. I have found that to be extraordinarily enjoyable to watch. So I would definitely strongly suggest doing that. Like if, like, you know, when you get, a lot of times when you get to a job, at first, you know, you have to really like dedicate like 100% of your brain to the job. But then eventually what happens is like you sort of understand everything, and like you're just sort of moving through the motions and just getting stuff done. So you need sort of a distraction. And that is, those guys are pretty good for that. They have a lot of interesting conversations. They had like a epic argument over whether you should use the article HTML tag. I thought that was funny. I think both guys made very, very good points, and it was neat that then the main guy was like, whatever, I'm doing what I want, and you could just tell that the other guy did not know. It was not used to people just being like, yeah, I'll do whatever I feel like doing. So now our geometry that we have will have a geometry, and I don't know if that's what I want to do, but for now that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say st geometry dot 3geometry. Material. So I think that's going to fix my... So we have one failed, should modify, cannot read undefined property alias. So at least they're running now. We have our one failed. It looks like it's upset about, I don't know what it's upset about. Let's see if we can find from down here if it's a little easier to... Should modify rotation, undefined reading alias. So, okay, when I first read this, I think I'm expecting to see the word alias, but I do not see the word alias. So this succeeds. It's going to create a mesh, and yeah, who knows? This is probably, who the heck knows what that could possibly be. I guess we should look at our console log real quick. And look at that, 98%. Got pretty good coverage. So I'm just going to change this and see if it just automatically updates it. So I'm guessing alias is a attribute inside of ThreeJS somewhere that we can't see. So really, probably what you want to do now is like add a console log. So we do have a mesh. So mesh is equal to... Let's change this. This isn't going to fix it, but I think, this is what I want to do. st mesh dot 3 mesh. As mesh. There you go. Sort of force it. Like like I said, I did not expect it to fix it, but I would rather use the 3 mesh that we create. And then usually the next thing I'll do is sort of, looks like this last one should pass, right? Just sort of process of elimination, see if we can figure out where it's breaking. Okay, so that is fine. The service is truthy, which is what we'd expect. And honestly, I guess we shouldn't even be checking rotation. That's not really the job of, oh, well, no, that is the absolute job of the animate. So yeah, so this code might actually be broken. Yeah, so in here, there's probably the word alias. So let's go in here, go to definition. No. But update property for animation. So it kind of looks, oh, animation alias. That's right, because we had that whole concept of aliases. And that's right, I completely forgot that concept even existed, where we have like the way we name the path, we convert it to the alias. And my animation, which I passed in, stmesh animations, I don't even have, that's right, we don't even have an animations, I don't think, in here. So yeah, so this was yet to me another win for unit tests. It's like, don't forget this is a very important part, and it looks like maybe it doesn't matter like at this point since animations aren't implemented yet, but it's like I think at least implementing animations, I don't know. I guess animations aren't really implemented yet, so I guess we don't expect this to work yet. Once we have animations implemented, we should expect. I think all we should expect at this point is for the service to compile. Now that I think about it, and I think we're good. So now the next thing is, it looks like we don't quite have 100% validation or test coverage. So the next step will be to see what we can do towards figure out where that test coverage isn't. What 4 lines are we missing? What 2 functions are we missing? What 1 branch are we missing? And what 4 statements are we missing? So that will be tomorrow, but yeah. Like this is all like, I purposely did not do animations for this commit. I just want, so I would not expect the rotation to work. And so that is going to be a thing, but it was nice having that reminder that I need to be able to modify a rotation. And I do think that was a good reminder. So I'm pretty happy. I'm glad. At this point, I'm very glad I did unit tests. I guess that's that. Let's see, what time is it? 8:37, 23 minutes till I have to go to work. So happy coding, everybody. Bye.